For generations, the fact and legend around Doc Holliday, the Georgia dentist turned Wild West gunfighter, continues to capture our imaginations. We dote on movies and television films that depict him. We read novels and biographies, mixing fact and fiction. Grown men dress up like him. And grown women sometimes adore him.
I think women are fascinated by Doc Holliday. He's a romantic character. He's the nobleman who's fallen from his high place in life and now needs to be rescued and wants to be good, but he keeps backsliding. And if a good woman could come and save him from that. And there's something about women that responds to that. Even in romance literature, that's often the kind of character that you find there, the dark and mysterious nobleman who just needs that good woman to save him. Holliday's that kind of character by nature. He was a Southern gentleman who had terrible things happen, fell from grace, was wandering the West trying to find himself, gained some nobility at the end. He actually, in real life, is that romantic character.
There's this sort of that romance of the eternal bad boy. Also the eternal bad boy who is dying. He's got the tuberculosis. The eternal bad boy who's mean as a snake when he wants to be and is really good at it. He can outshoot so many people. He's a killer.
It's interesting that his story has been told by so many women over the years. It's majority women writers who tell Doc Holliday's story.
On March 3rd, Brenau University explores our cultural attachment to this enigmatic figure through the insights of novelist Victoria Wilcox, Georgia Author of the Year, and her 3-book telling of the Holliday story.
I didn't come to this story first to write a book or to write books. I was just trying to tell the story in support of the museum I had founded, the Holliday Dorsey Fife House Museum, that was Doc Holliday's family home, and that's where I first learned the stories about his life. But how to tell that story? Do I want to tell it as a straight biography with just the facts that I have learned about him, and I knew things that people didn't know about him, or do I want to craft this as historical fiction?
Joining Wilcox will be the celebrated Atlanta film critic Eleanor Ringel Cater, an unabashed Doc Holliday enthusiast.
I came to Doc Holliday through the movies, but once I discovered him in the movies, I read everything.
I was not interested in Wyatt Earp. I wasn't interested in the OK Corral. I wasn't even interested really in the western part of his life when I started. I wanted to tell his southern life, the life of this boy growing up during the Civil War with a father who was a Confederate officer, and the hardships that they went through, and then how that boy in the South ended up being a Western legend. That was fascinating to me. One of the most interesting things that I discovered about Holliday at the Holliday House was that he was related through marriage to Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind. And in fact, his cousin, who was his favorite cousin, and the family says was his sweetheart when they were growing up, his cousin became the model for Melanie in Gone with the Wind.
She's done all the right things with the story. She's gotten the idea, not just the color behind it, but also kind of how it reflects some things about it, as she said, Old South, Wild West. These are grand mythos in the making of America and how they kind of collide.
So now you not only have this Western legend, you have this connection to the South's most famous novel. So the West's most famous gunfight connects with the South's most famous novel. I still can hardly get my mind around this concept. The Old South meets the Wild West and falls in love, is what the story was. That story had to be told.
Spend an evening with Doc Holliday's lady, Victoria Wilcox, Tuesday, March 3rd at Brenau University's historic Pearce Auditorium, Gainesville, Georgia.